Nhaka Foundation and Wona Sanana implemented projects on the development and systematization of effective models of ECCE education in underserved rural communities in Zimbabwe and Mozambique. The two non-profit organizations specialize in providing increased access to ECCE education for children aged 0 to 8 years.
Our point of entry is government primary schools in partnership with the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education.
The projects were supported by TDH, while the Ministry of Social and Economic Development in Germany, BMZ, funded the project.
Yes, TDH has been supporting local partners since more than 40 years, and we are exclusively supporting projects through local partner organizations.
About 95% of infants in Mozambique lack access to ECCE education. In Zimbabwe, respected online reports say it's around 40%. Rural areas are the worst affected. Future development prospects of children who miss out will be severely limited. The partners aimed to assist 6,995 children in selected communities. After doing a feasibility study and using baseline research studies, it was realized there was inadequate infrastructure due to poverty.
Nhaka yakatibatsira nhaka iyi. Izvi ndakutoona musiyano wevanhu vana vanga vaspenda pa ECD.
The ECCE model and project design were then informed by problems facing children in each of the 5 communities.
In 3 communities which are located in Maputo province, in the south of Mozambique, in the district of Namahasha. These 3 communities are some of the most disadvantaged communities. The aim of this project was to help in the development of the children between 0 to 8.
They are not even inspired or motivated to wake up one morning and say, I want to go to school, because what comes into their mind is, I'm learning in a classroom where there are no doors, no windows. Anytime the roof can fall on them.
Logan Lee has extremely deplorable learning conditions. For years, children were learning in tobacco barns with cracks, old warehouses, old horse stables, and crop storage sheds. Nhaka Foundation had to build newer sound structures on a different site. Some infant learners still travel up to 12 kilometers each way. Conflict is very high. Parents and communities contributed in resource mobilization. Classrooms were not age appropriate. More toilets were needed, as well as clean and safe water.
Access, if we are looking at it, in Mozambique it is at about 5%. And then in Zimbabwe it is at about 45%. Might be inhibiting factors of payment of that learning service within the ECD centers. Is there infrastructure for children to be there within those centers?
Intervention. 1. Community cohesion and project ownership. Peace-building workshops and inception meetings were needed before any work could be done.
Takadzidza magadziriswa kuti maconflicts acho chinombovi chiko maresolutions acho kuti anopedzwa sei kuti aresolve maconflicts.
They came from different backgrounds, and because of the land resettlement, they happened to be then staying in the same community. So we had to come up with a training on conflict resolution and conflict management, on how people can work together and how people can cooperate together to mobilize resources and support the children and the future generations. 2. Construction and rehabilitation of infrastructure. The community is supported with materials and labor. Nhaka Foundation co-creates and co-implements all its activities in partnership with the communities.
Nhaka yakatibatsira panyaya dzeblock. Takabatsirikana zvikuru nekuti takatira ine vana vawandisa.
We were fortunate enough after their preliminary assessment they realized that I think we had one of the largest enrollments. We already had about 120,000 bricks, which were meant to construct another classroom block, by virtue of the fact that schools enrollment has been on the upward trend, and we were forced to be continuously constructing new classrooms.
Saka Nhaka Foundation takafara maningi payakauya yakatipromisa zvakawanda zvinosanganisira kutiwakira ECD block rakawakwa zvakanaka izvizvi namanje zvakushanda.
We also built classrooms, activity rooms. It was in total 6, 2 in each community.
I'm very happy to work with the Nhaka Foundation in the construction of Logan Primary School. Our learners, they're in old and dilapidated buildings, the tobacco barns, which were left by some former farmers. And those buildings are healthy hazards. They are no longer conducive for learning. We really appreciate it. It will motivate our teachers, even teachers' retention.
3. Capacity building. Communities were trained in gardening, use of dryers, nutrition and food preparation. Caregivers were encouraged to use locally available resources for daily meals both at home and at school.
All we were just trying to do was to come up with a child-friendly environment. At the same time, we were trying to have a well-natured child.
Ndiri kutenda BMZ, TDH neNhaka Foundation kuti tisimudze chikoro chedu chatiri kufara nacho nhasi kuti vana vedu vapuwa nhaka inokosha muupenyu.
Nhaka Foundation and the partners will be going out there in the communities so that we can even capture those far-fetched areas.
4. Health assessments.
Kwakuzwa yaizi assessment. Vana vedu vaiaseswa kuti hana zvirwere ere.
Health assessments exposed ringworm, dental caries, eye problems, hygiene and malnutrition concerns.
We included health screening to ensure that we are able to identify some of the most common diseases which affected children.
A Juliana tem 2 anos e 5 meses, ela é deficiente. Além de ser deficiente, ela tem desnutrição grave. E a Wona Sanana tem me ajudado muito. Tem me dado kit alimentar, tenho sempre controle de saúde mensalmente, tenho me dado sementes para poder semear na machamba, para poder alimentar. Tenho sempre visitas da comitê em casa e dizer que muito obrigado pela força e pela ajuda.
Standing is a major issue. For us to know the status of the child, we need to carry out health assessments that show that what is lacking in the child.
Nevenhaka maringe nezveutano hwevana takasvika kukurudzira vana mai vakazvitakura kuti vaite early booking kurumidza kunyoresa mimba dzavo kuchipatara uko kwavachanga chiongororwa kune inonzi postnatal care. Mai ava tinovakurudzira kuti vaende kuchipatara day 3 vachinge vazvara. Day 3 izvi zvarakanakira ndezvekuti vari kotariswa utano hwaamai vacho nemwana wavo.
Manesi vaitwa vachivasesa vachiona kuti vari kugeza zvakanaka here, misoro iri kukamwa here, havana makwerede here, mazino haana kuora here, vari kuona zvakanaka here. Nhaka yakatibatsira.
5. Improved nutrition. Nutrition gardens helped provide different vegetables at home and at school. The school and the community will maintain rainbow gardens with excess food being dried to be consumed later.
We wanted to ensure that children had access to nutritious food.
Nutrition gardens have been put in place in order to diversify the food that comes from it. And it has been focusing mainly on what they called the rainbow approach of crops that have got various and diverse food ingredients that are required for the child. And that issue has been a capacity or training issue both at the school level for teachers and also for the community, since the feeding can still go also into the community level to support the child in terms of this.
6. Communities were empowered to start income-generating projects.
They had no capacity of providing for themselves. We came up with the income-generating projects that will give the community and the schools some income to develop their own schools at their own will, at their own pace, and at their own time, using their own financial resources that they would have come up through the income-generating projects. In Manika Land and Chitagatira, we managed to do fish farming, where the community was supported with fingerlings that they would be able to grow into fish and sell.
Ndakatipa project ikatiwakira fish ponds zvakutooneka kuti vana vedu kana chinyari chikoro chedu chatosimuka.
Whereby we managed to do a chicken and poultry project, and all these proceeds that will come from these projects are supposed to be channeled through the school development. And in terms of infrastructure development, health and nutrition, also to be able to support those children who are most vulnerable in terms of sponsorship of their school fees, any of their learning resources, reading and writing materials.
7. Improved learning.
Basically, we provided education to children. We had educators. In fact, there were 15, 5 in each community, because we said we are in 3 communities. So these educators, they provided all the orientation, all the education to children in different aspects.
Avitizanga nilina fineje mashava. Imene mama na wa Dario. Dario adifiti lizanga na zone. Ani difiti zaka nga khulumi. Akukhuluma ka yene. Mama, papa, loko kutlhasa munhu amuka kutata treasure ma palavra. Agamile kolano o resto anga ha swi tivi. Maji lexi xini vavisaka moya wa mina loko umuzoma ku famba teka kopiti wa famba wa teka famba teka parato wa famba wa teka kumbe xipunu wa teka maji o tsandzeka a ku vulavula. Dario a ku khensa ka mina ni khensela va fika ka va mpfuxela va mu dyondzisanyana switsongo. Loko ni langusa difference leswi a tisa swo masiku ndzhaku a lavi xa khomisa ku ja swo swa khoma ben ja leswi ni swi vonaka swi kutsongonyana swi lungakanyana khani mama.
Vana vedu wepachitakatira vane ruzivo rwakupfuura ma-ECD zvimwewo zvikoro, ngoroti nhaka yakauyazve nematicha aidzidzisa futi. Even pa-lockdown paya taiona mukana kuti vana vedu vaitodzidziswa.
Projekti leli nilifambisa ngopfu ni kuvatsongwana kusika ka 0 ti 1 ndzeni ka ku va pfuna vana lavayani amadyela nga ve lava va ku vagwa. Hina leswi swi byalaka leswi swa va pfuna vana lavaya va ku vagwa. Yini ku sateka leswi swi kala va nga swi nga likoka leswi va hi poyaraka ku ni leswi Wona Sanana hi poyaraka yini a swamba swa ku pala swi pfunisela vana lava va ku va vabya a xikolweni. Ntawona hina hi pfunisela hi ku hi teka leswi hi nga na swona hi junta ku vona va swi kota ku vuyisa leswi hi ka hi nga na swo lama xava maxina swi vuyisa hi project la Wona Sanana. Je hinkwaswo leswi a swi kota ku va na hi nawu hi khensa swinene hi project leyi porque a se ha pfuneka vana vanyingi va nga kona ka ku va pfunekaka a swi vana na swi nga gwenti ku famba majija swo swa famba se swi boxa ya xikola ja xikolo a swa maprimary ja swa pfuna.
It included building playgrounds. You know, children without playing, they don't feel themselves children. So we wanted to make sure that in each of 3 communities we provided children with playgrounds as part of their development. So basically the project was aiming to make sure that children are learning in a very clean, safe, but also very friendly environment.
I was here when visiting that project the moment like COVID started, and I think in the beginning it wasn't really clear on how to deal with that. Especially I think in the first month we were not really sure, is this taking on for like 3-4 months and then we can go back to the project at normality. Unfortunately that wasn't the case. So we have like 40-50 different BMZ projects all over the world, so you can imagine like the struggle we were in. And both partners, Nhaka Foundation and Wona Sanana, were actually among the first to approach us and to come up with a good solution on how to handle this. So we were actually able to secure additional BMZ funding for the period, I think it was 2020, to come up with food baskets, but also like alternative learning models and sessions. So I think this was a really strong response to these definitely difficult circumstances. I've asked many authorities and stakeholders today on how they feel like on the long-term effects of those periods. I think it's hard to say, but given the circumstances, I think especially Nhaka Foundation and Wona Sanana did a really good job to try to cope with that, even though obviously it wasn't the ideal setting. But there was no way to foresee a global pandemic. I think for all of us it was the first time, but yes, the solution they came up with were really strong.
Access to quality ECCE education was implemented in a dual process by the school and by the communities. Governments should scale up this model further and channel it to respective government ministries to amplify it.
But also included working with community at different level. We mean at the government level, but also at the home with parents, so that we can ensure that parents are also involved.
I was able to visit like both sites twice. So as you know, this is a project taking place both in Zimbabwe as well as in Mozambique. And though the context might be a bit different, I think you can see very much similarities as well. What I really liked is that those projects, they don't happen in silos. The partners are actually working really close together. We have exchange visits, and yes, what I really enjoy to see is that both partners actually learn from each other, and after 3 years I think we have learnings on both sides, and some of the components from Mozambique and some of the components from Zimbabwe can be transferred to the other country and vice versa. So I think this was quite a success. It's also challenging working in 2 different countries with 2 different settings, 2 different languages, etc. But I think both partners managed quite well.
For an organization with children at heart, we really enjoyed this. This is an investment in the future, what we see here, and it's so good to see what we can achieve when we're working together.
I think with Nhaka Foundation we have a very, very strong cooperation. Personally, I'm very much in favor of having a second phase with them, because they are doing like a really great work also in cooperation with our Mozambican partner. It's really such a cooperation that TDH is looking forward, and our donors from the BMZ, when it comes to localization, are actually looking exactly for these kind of partners.
Adding solar lighting and electricity later on would improve access to ICT, as it is now part of the ECCE curriculums.
I think in terms of both Mozambique and Zimbabwe, we have got plenty of sunlight, and which can be used for supporting solar projects. And it is an important area which we think that teachers' houses, the classrooms, pumping of water, not only for consumption as drinking, but also even for the gardens, nutrition gardens, is an important technology which needs to be explored. And since all those enhance the child's needed developmental growth.
Nhaka Foundation have helped us develop communities. So can we continue developing the communities together? Because wherever there are resources, there's bound to be some conflicts. But however, conflict should be constructive. So we are happy that people, I think there will some sessions on conflict resolution. And it seems to have worked wonders.
While the projects focused on learning infrastructure, there is also a need to retain teachers with incentives like teachers' housing and any other support.
Accommodation at moment, my teachers are they are housed in one of the oldest dilapidated farmhouses in Europe.
We are not going to leave anyone behind. Lizo, takata sama project yakuta panapa pane fish pond yatatanga tega nehuku panoda kuti panaza kuti expand. As a council we will make sure it will expand. And panapa tikona dambudziko hombe nyaya yemba dzamaticha. So takabatana necommunity is a council mukaunganidza zvinowanikwa muno mozouya motiona tokubetserai zvisingawanikwa muno toita sei tokubetserai.
Guardians of children with a disability were encouraged to send the children to school.
Rimwe rachona rine ramp rekuti kana kuri kuti ane wheelchair yaanopushwa nayo kana kuti ane maclasses ekufamba nawo anonatso kukwira kupinda muclass nekubuda. Tichibva ipapo takagadzira futi yatinoti iyo kadrive kekuenda kuma toilets. Pakavakirirwa pane enclosure iripo.
Ndine mwana akaremarawo. Mwana wangu uyu ari ku-ECD anoenda kuchikoro. Dambudziko rakaendera kuti pakufamba apa haana balance yakanyatsoti kwani, unofamba aine zvitsvimbo. Saka kuchikoro ndoda kutenda wenhaka kutibatsira kwavakaita pamatoilets. Ndakatomboisa chichemo kuna headmaster ndichiti headmaster matoilets mozotibatsirawo kuvana kana kuti vanhu vari disabled vaya vane vachinidhawo toilet ine chichemba chekuti vanokwanisawo kugara. Saka ndakazoona venhaka vakazotibatsirawo nekutuvakira toilet iyoyo. Saka ndinozvitenda zvikuru kuti zvinotibatsirawo kana mwana wangu unotosunungukawo kana achikwanisa kuenda kutoilet achigarawo pachemba iyi.
Matoilets atakavaka ikoko akati boys and girls, but at the same time kubwells ikoko takaisa one compartment yatinoti special needs. That compartment iyoyo ine ramp yekuti kana achipinda ine wheelchair nepekubatira nepekusiya wheelchair yake nekusvika achigara.
Sustainability issues. What does the future hold? There is need for a good exit strategy. Continuous monitoring and learning support will ensure the new infrastructure is not neglected.
Kuti kana pasina maticha padhuze vachibva uko kwamaona kuti kure zvakaita ziyanizi zvinonetsa kumaneja zvinhu zvedu. Saka tabetserana tizokumbirawo madevelopment partners edu TDH Nhaka Foundation vakada kuita zvakanaka kuti vatibetserewo kana vachisiti kanzura kaitawo imwe votitirawo imwe imba tifambe pamwe chete nai.
There is need to ensure adequate maintenance. Learners need good nutrition, health assessments, and monitoring of development milestones.
At ownership, you all are so much engaged in this project, and it's looking so fine, and I hope we will see a second phase with the same results.
On behalf of TDH head office and as well as our regional colleagues, yes, thank you for the great work you're doing here, and I'm really happy especially for the students and the teachers, that now they can start to teach and learn in this facility.
Education is our heritage. It is important as it helps us and guides our lives.
Uko kwa tawe kubva uko chokwadi kwaiva kuhondo.